love someone struggling with addiction, you know the ache of waiting, wondering, and holding on to hope.
You've seen glimpses of who they really are and feared losing them to who they are not.
As long as they are alive, there's hope.
Between relapse and redemption is a raw and honest conversation between a mother and a daughter who've walked the long road through 20 years of addiction, Oxycontin, heroin, fentanyl, and found their way back to life, love, and healing.
Whether your loved one is lost in the spiral or fighting their way out, we've created this space for you too.
To know you're not alone, to understand more, to believe the healing is still possible.
Subscribe for weekly videos that explore the real, messy, and meaningful side of addiction and recovery from both sides.
We will offer stories, insights, and conversations that offer hope, understanding, and truth.
What broke and what helped,
Relapse isn't failure, it's a signal.
and the love that doesn't quit. So, where do we start today? Talking about relapse, about feeling that first break or that first time that something happened that led you maybe to drugs.
The first thing that came to my mind was the time I pulled up outside and I showed you my arms.
Yeah, that was something.
Um,
I don't think that was the first time. But that's the first time I became aware of it, that's for sure.
Yeah, and just speaking of the love that doesn't quit, it's all those times and all the situations that you and I have been through as a mom and a daughter, or a daughter and a mom,
and even as a family.
And as a family,
mm-hmm.
and
yeah.
And it's been a long ride, Mom. Even though time's gone by rather quickly for me. When we were driving over, when you picked me up and we were coming home earlier, and I was just, we were talking about Dad and my grandparents that passed away on both sides of the family, and it just how I couldn't imagine losing my parents, and how many times you had to deal with or cope with the fact that I barely made it, and the time you went and saw me when I was in the hospital after an overdose.
I remember the call that said she might not make it.
Yeah.
And that was, I don't even think there's words for it. They say that if you lose a child, it's just a loss nobody else can understand. And to me, as we talked about last time, it's as long as you're alive, there's hope,
Mm-hmm.
right? But to think that hope was leaving, and that you were leaving, and that all the experiences that we hadn't had yet were leaving, and all the things that your kids need to process through, and you were leaving, right? Mm-hmm. And it was just, and for you not to be able to live out your full life. I mean, all that came like in an instant into my mind. It's amazing how just rapid fire those thoughts are when you're right at that cusp. And it wasn't the only time.
Were you angry with me, Mom?
Angry with you?
Like, how in the fuck could you do this to yourself? Or was it more just...
No, I think I was more just angry. I don't think I was at you. I was just angry that it got to that point. I think, honestly, in retrospect, it was a lot of me being angry at myself. and um, realizing how much impact you and your siblings had growing up, because I was in my own mental funk coming out of my own family history, and that my awareness hadn't opened enough to say, oh, this is healthy for the family, this is not healthy
Mm-hmm.
for the family, this is healthy for me. um, so I didn't have that insight, I didn't have that awareness, which came much later. And I would advise for anyone who's going to have children, get your mind in check, understand your emotions, get your get your past sorted out before you decide to settle down and have children, if you have that
Yeah.
option and you haven't had them already. And if you have had them, then still go and do the work. But once I really started to do the work, I was in such a fog of trauma myself that
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't aware that I was um, really non-functioning in a lot of ways, as much as I was able to keep all the pieces together so that we could survive. You had
Mm-hmm.
talked about that before, but the survival part, I made sure we survived, and that's really all I knew how to do.
Mm-hmm.
My growing up years were about survival.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was damn good at making sure that we survived it, but how to thrive, I didn't even know I was missing that. And
Right.
so I can see where that was translated along, but also the choices that I had made that I could, in hindsight, like you're doing now, looking back and seeing the choices you made and how they impacted your children,
Mm-hmm.
right? Your family, yes, but your children are the most important.
Yep.
And for me, so I think more that anger became directed at myself for not having been awake before having children. And as I've said, infinite times, and I'll say it over and over again, I would never trade you guys in to be able to go back and start anew,
We're non-refundable.
and non-refundable. I love that. Nor is it even
Yeah.
possible. But from that place, I really wish I had been awake so that you would have all been provided um, with a healthy parent to guide you along, because dad wasn't healthy and I wasn't healthy, and that didn't make for a secure, happy, healthy child or children.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think more that um, I was angry about that drugs were the path that you chose, um, and how much they stole you from yourself and from me and from your children mainly. It's
Yeah.
always been about the kids for me. And yeah, I think the anger was in several places, but I wasn't really ever angry at you. Like, how could you? That just wasn't it. It was like more pain than anger, I guess is how I would
Yeah.
say it.
Yeah. Because I, on the flip side, coming from my perspective, my point of view is, or my own experiences, is the path that I chose to go down. I, I was completely checked out from being a mom. I started when my daughter was, she's now 18, graduated high school, going to college, and I was there for one day of the first day she started preschool, and I haven't been there since. And I mean, I and then I had two more, and I thought I had it together for my little one, um, and my middle son. I was in my addiction, and I was in a very abusive relationship. Um, but looking back, I wouldn't have ever changed the fact that I had them, because they're three amazingly beautiful, just intelligent souls. They're amazing kids, And I haven't got to know them. My 13-year-old, he's always just been like, "Hey, Mom." That has never stopped.
He has the most forgiving heart, doesn't he?
Yeah, and my 4-year-old, he's a little too young to really know, but he knows enough. He knows probably more than he needs to know. But I don't regret having them in any way. I really wish I would have waited, or maybe when I needed the help, just come and ask for it and not just expected it, or I would have just laid it out there and maybe life would have been a little bit different. Choices would have made different. But then again, if I would have changed different things, I wouldn't have had them three. And so coming from a daughter's point of view, but not a mother's point of view as well, my love for my kids is unconditional, just like your love is for me and my siblings and your grandkids. And I learned how to love and be loved by you, Mom. And it was always that, one person has this person on the shoulder and this person has this person on the shoulder. And you were always that voice in the back of my mind, even when I was out there. But it would just be like, no, no, because I'm going to do this. And it's not something. It's just that I would remember certain words you would say or certain phrases, or I just, like, I would tell you so many times I was sitting in the county, I just miss your hugs, Mom. I just want to hug you. And we may not have been brought into a stable home per se, but I'm going to give credit where credit's due, Mom, and you did everything you could given our situations. You truly showed me what love was, even when I hated myself and I hated everybody else, and you never gave up.
You remember I told you, though, you're hating on my child?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't let anybody hate on my child.
Yeah. I could be the nicest person in the world, but when it comes to my kids, don't fuck with them.
Don't hate on my child. And God's child. I'd tell you, you're God's child and you're hating on God's child.
Yeah. And my addiction didn't start when I was a young kid or a teenager. I had addictions to other things, but the substances really came in the picture in my early 20s, yeah, somewhere around there. And because my daughter was born when I was 20, turning 21. Yeah, so my addiction started,
But you used some things like when you were working at the store.
Yeah, at the mall, I used some things.
You were like 18 then, weren't you?
So it had been late teens, early adulthood, but my addiction really spiraled out of control early 20s. And I just, today I'm like, damn, like my daughter's going to be 20 in 2 years, and my little brother is, he's 20. He's going to be 20. He was born in 2003. 2005, a year after I graduated. So he's 20. And that's right around the time a little bit after that my addiction really spiraled out of control. And because it's just because I chose to go down the path I go down. I mean, you were still an amazing mom. I remember the Christmas, you made sure we always had that one thing we really truly wanted, and whether we had the money for it or not. And I remember one year I was so excited to get this feather pillow that I wanted, and I got that freaking feather pillow,
Listen, I couldn't take the happy belief from you that there's some magical.
Or every Sunday we'd go for 39-cent cheeseburgers and a bucket of fries, and it's something but that brought us together. Our tough times and us living in our 2-bedroom little duplex or little apartment and with one bathroom
where we all had to be in there at the same time.
You had me, my brother, and my sister, but it made us like this. I think that's the time it really brought our family together. And I mean, thankfully, I was the only one that chose to go down that path because I mean, kudos to all my brothers and sisters. My sister, yeah, they're kicking ass in life. But then that's where I look up to them. I'm their older sister, but damn, like where they have come, even having my brother deal with me not being there, and that was my best friend. I mean,
and vice versa.
And vice versa. He was my everything. And for the record, we're talking. He loves me again.
And there's healing to go
and there's
through.
a lot of healing to go through, but I'm allowed here again, Mom. I'm allowed to be around my 13-year-old, and I still have contact with my 18-year-old's dad, and I still have contact with my 4-year-old, and I have that because of myself, but because I'm learning how to be a mom again. I wasn't the greatest mom, but I look for all the memories we had growing up, and even as me being almost 40 years old, and but
What?
just
How'd that happen?
I know, I'm telling you. But family birthdays and just events, and that there's hope that one day, I mean, I'll be able to do that with my own kids. And I was here for your birthday, and our whole family was together, and that's the
best birthday.
First time, and I don't know.
All my kids together.
Yeah.
One day, hopefully, it'll be with all the grandkids too.
Yeah, but that's where comes love and healing, and with healing there comes love, and with love there comes healing, and as long as we all stay open, and you've said over the years, just to as soon as you start doing healing on yourself, and as soon as you start walking the right path, the family's just going to come back together, and it hasn't been easy, but it's worth it. And there's been times to come over here, and I'm just like, oh, like it hurts sometimes to come over here.
And it hurts the times that you weren't allowed to come over here.
Absolutely. And on holidays.
And how angry you'd get with me because I chose the children.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, why do they get to come and I don't? And I said, I'll always choose the children.
Yeah. Well, that's what my brother and my sisters my brothers and my sister have always said too. Just as soon as you get right with your kids, we'll get right with you. And
because the children are the innocent ones.
Yeah.
They don't have any part in that.
As soon as you show up and continue showing up and do what you say and following through, because in my addiction, none of that mattered to me. Yeah. I would say, I'll be there. I wouldn't be there, and I'd turn off my phone, or I would, make up some bullshit as excuse. And I do my damn hardest when I say I'm going to be somewhere, especially with my family. I'm here. And I understand that there's other things I got going on, and, with working, and I'm starting school for a program next week, and I have my meetings, and I have stuff going on at my recovery home, but to be able to come home on your birthday was huge. And just the fun I'm having with my nephew, I had only met him one time, and that was last Thanksgiving, and I honestly, I don't even remember much of that, but I can sit down and be present with him, and he's not like scared of me, and he's just such a bundle of joy. Auntie, and I'm so in love with him, and he reminds me of my brother when my brother was little.
So when you're talking about that, and we touched on at the beginning about that relapse isn't failure, how do you look at that, like in your own life? Because there were so many times that you started to come back in, and then you bounced back out, and you started to get well, and then you got dirty, right? And just back and forth.
Relapse isn't failure at all. Relapse is just a relapse. Like, God doesn't throw anything in our direction that we can't handle as humans. And relapse that comes with a lot of different things. It brings on a lot of emotions. I mean, I went from being healthy and having a job and having a house and a car and, and having my 4-year-old and in a rocky relationship, but had so much. And then my 4-year-old's father and we started going down the wrong path and lost a car, lost a house, lost the bank accounts, lost the job, lost the kid. And for the amount of time as it took us to rebuild all that, I mean, that stuff was gone within a week, everything. And then, there's the storage is gone, and then this is gone. And it's relapse. It happens. And it happens to the best of us. It happens to the worst of us. It can happen to absolutely anybody. Whether you have a day clean, 10 minutes clean, or you got 50 years clean, it is possible. But that's where I look in for my own recovery and my own sobriety, is my own mentality. If I even give a minute to the thought, I want to get loaded, I've already got one foot out that door.
And I think that's the real, raw, honest truth, is that really for any of us, if we let our minds start taking us down that pathway, how quickly we can lose everything.
Mm-hmm.
And how many temptations there are, right?
Everywhere I go.
Right. And I would imagine, I can't speak for you, but I would imagine that every time you started to surface your head again, you also had to face all that everybody had been through, your kids or your family,
yeah.
and you,
the aftermath of the storm.
Right. So to face that then probably also helped you go back to relapse.
Oh, immediately, right away. Or if it wasn't immediately, it was shortly thereafter. Like, okay, now this is getting brought up, this situation is getting brought up, or, oh, I got to face my family and what I did to them, or my brother and how I may have taken this from him, or my mom and I took this from her. Or
so what's different now? I mean, boy, we still have a lot to talk about, don't we?
Yeah, but what's different now is
like your brother's piggy bank.
Yeah.
That one was just mind blowing.
You're
such a little guy and you stole his piggy bank.
I know. It's
How do you face it now? Why is it different? Like, why can you sit and hear me say you stole your brother's bank account and how painful that was?
Because
I mean, when you stole from me and robbed my house, that was nothing compared to stealing your brother's bank account. That's when I thought, oh my God, not bank account, but his little piggy.
Yeah.
With all his little money in there that he'd saved up. And I thought, oh my God, that she'd steal his. Like, me, I'm one thing, right? But that just hit me way different.
It's I can sit here and talk about it, and not that I'm okay with what I did, but I've learned that I have to move past all that. I have to take accountability. I have to take responsibility. I need to forgive myself. And I'm not going to blame it on the drugs, but I was not in the right frame of mind. And it's the things that like I was saying before, the things that I did to others and things I said, sitting here right now, I to be honest with you, I don't even know half the things that I may have said or done. I was in such a fog and so just dark and on a nod, and it just so ugly inside. Just absolutely just felt so low about myself, and that, okay, I'm going through pain, now I'm gonna make you motherfuckers go through it too. Like, I feel like you guys abandoned me or you guys left me. It's that whole victim mentality. And not only with just the victim mentality, but it's like, oh, okay, I don't want to be sick tomorrow. Okay, what's the easiest thing I know I could come up on right now so that I could go get my fix? And unfortunately, it was my family many times. Mm-hmm. And I mean, a handful of times. And
but how do you face that today when it was so challenging for you before? I mean, now you've been clean. How many days is it again?
136.
136 days, which is amazing. Longest ever. And I know that this time, I want to sidestep for a moment because we were talking before about when you were in jail this last time. And you'd been sentenced to go to prison for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And to a prison that you've been to before. And I recall you told me it was the darkest place you've ever seen on the planet, the things that people did to each other.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And just the evil ways there.
Mm-hmm.
And it really was such a contrast inside of me because I never want to see you go to jail or to prison, but I was okay with you going to jail.
Yeah.
I knew that you'd be safe. I knew that it was like kind of a timeout, a holding
That's
facility.
exactly what
for
it
you.
was. Yeah.
Right. But in prison, I know that when you were in there, it was like a whole different world from what you described.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember some of the stories that you told me about things that happened in there. And that's going to be for another day too, because I have no idea how you could have seen and experienced the things that you have. As I was telling you earlier, when someone was knocking at the door and I was thinking, oh my God, what would I do if it was someone and you said, oh, I'd come after him. But how you've been able to survive that stuff that my mind can't even wrap its head around.
I had to.
I know, but still,
yeah,
I don't know how.
Oh, I got a lot of therapy and a lot of stuff I need to do. And
I have no doubt.
But there it comes with, I keep telling myself, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'm ready, but I need to be fucking ready. Like, it needs to happen because I know where this mind of mine, it can lead me very quickly. And I try to keep myself away from that as much as possible. But as long as, like I said, as long as I go to bed clean and I wake up clean every day, and that is what's kept me clean. My little motto, maybe it's patents or the trademark somewhere, but I live it, and that's what keeps me clean every single day. And then there comes with, multiple occasions when I was in the county, I saw my own funeral. Like, I was in that casket and I saw my family members.
Do you think that's part of what helps you face it now? Is because I remember that dream you told me.
Yeah.
I mean, you might want to share that.
About my overdose.
Yeah.
And I was in the casket and I just remember my family there, and my grandma, my grandpa were there that have recently passed away, and Papa was there, and it was just
and your kids were there.
And all my kids were there. All my kids and my brothers, and one of my brothers is where, we have a lot of healing to do. We have a lot of healing to do with both my brothers and my sister, but my youngest brother, and because I was never there for him. And, I wasn't a sister. I was always just a friend. Hey, what's up? Type of thing, and we had some good times, of course, but I was never there for him. Just present, graduations, anything. And, but the fact that he was there at my funeral, and
oh wow, I could see where that would be so impactful.
And my 18-year-old was there, my 18-year-old's father was there, and just people that I never expected to be there.
Yeah.
And on one side of that dream, it had all you guys and my 18-year-old's dad and my 13-year-old, and thank God not his father. He wasn't there, but it was like everybody that has been there for me, and all my other moms, and just so many other people. And then waking up from that dream, that nightmare that I had overdosed, and being grateful I woke up to see jail walls. I was so relieved.
So that was the difference that made all the difference.
Yeah.
That you needed like way more than an intervention, say from a family or police.
Yeah, you guys have tried that.
Yeah, it was somehow there was something deeper or higher that had an intervention with you.
Yeah, and
it woke you up.
It did,
because that's where I wanted to lead to when you were being sentenced to go to that 4 years, and so they wouldn't pay for you to have sober living, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you started talking to me about bailing you out, and I called your dad and I said, there's something different this time. I feel it. I feel it in her. And he goes, I don't know. I don't know. We've been down this path so many times before. I said, I know. And he said, I haven't noticed it. And I said, I have. There's just something different this time. There was part of me that didn't want you to go to prison.
Right.
Jail, I didn't mind you being
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
because I knew you were time away from the drugs, right? And that you were also reading the Bible and praying and talking to people and whatever. You were alive, right? But it was part you being sentenced to prison. And the other part that I felt so strongly something shifted in you. And Dad said, well, I'm going to defer to you. If you really believe that, I'm going to have to believe in you. And I said, I have no guarantees. I can't guarantee it, but I really feel like there's something different. And so that's why we decided to bail you out. I mean, you're out on bail right now, right?
Sure am.
And even what the court said when you went back this last time, share that.
I don't remember exactly what was said, but something along the lines of that they just don't see this happen. It's from my attorney. I'll speak for my attorney. I'm not going to put what other people said out there, but my attorney had said she doubted me 100% when I would do my video calls with her, and she told me, the only reason people bail out is so they can go get loaded. And I'm just like, no, I'm talking to my parents about bailing. Well, I think this, and I'm just like, no. And so I stuck with it. And when I saw her, she's like, okay, and at first I'm thinking, I'm going to have to sign that they're going to remand me. I'm going to prison.
I remember you were really nervous about that day.
Super nervous, or they're going to sentence me doing time in the county or prison and then having to go to a program and then out on supervision. And she said, because you've been doing so well, the DA is not going to drop this to a misdemeanor because you do have many priors, in regards if they're old or not. You have too many. If the judge said, if the DA says yes, they will, then the judge will say yes and they'll drop it to a misdemeanor. But unfortunately that's not the case because of my extensive background. And so she said, but I got you credit time served. And she said, I am so proud of you.
And what's that exactly?
Credit time served means that I don't have to go do another day in the county jail. And every day that I did in the county goes towards my supervision now also. And it's counted as a prison term in the county jail.
So does your NA meetings, right?
That all my NA meetings, every day I'm in my recovery home, I can take a paper and that gets knocked off all my court's fines and fees. I don't know the exact amount, and that's neither here nor there. But every day that I do well,
you get rewarded.
I get rewarded for it. And every day that I've been doing well since I got out, and even when I was in there, it's paying off. I mean, I was so worried they were still, it was a possibility even after you guys bailed me that they were still going to send me there. But we were holding hope and faith that wouldn't happen as long as I continued doing the right thing. And my attorney said, so we got you credit time served, and the remaining of the time you'll do on supervision, but we're putting you on this type of supervision so that way we can also put you in another program where they pay for your sober living for an additional 3 months. And
another reward.
I mean, recovery homes aren't cheap, but they're worth it. And if I didn't have the recovery home, I remember the first day I walked in there and I looked at you. I'm like, Mom, it was a zoo, and it was a shit show.
Too, when you turned around, you looked at me when I was at the front door, and I was thinking the same thing, like, oh my gosh, this is such drama in here.
Yeah, and there was a lot of stuff going on in the home at that time. And
that girl who said, I know you from somewhere, and you say, yeah, jail. And she's like, oh, yikes.
But at the end of the day, me being there, I love it. Like, I have created.
I think you said once they changed up some of
the a couple things there. It's It's just been, I haven't laughed as hard as I do then at nighttime when it's me and my roommates in our room and we are just rolling. We are having such a great time. And whoever thought in a recovery home, women can't stand women in our addictions. They're just like, it's
Sounds
weird.
like you're almost in a sorority.
It's kind of like that, for addicts and convicts type of thing.
Addicts and convicts, that's a whole other one.
Yeah, we were even talking, we should make a reality TV show, Sober Living Edition. Like, just the shit that goes on, and
that's one thing I love so much is even through all this pain, you still have such a good sense of humor.
we have so much fun. And, for those that out there that are still struggling in their addiction, it's possible. And when I go to a meeting, and I led my first meeting a couple weeks ago, and I was nervous, I was texting my sponsor, and I texted you, and I texted my house manager, and I had multiple other girls there from my recovery home, but they were like, you got this, okay. When one of them was coaching me through it, because I started talking before I was supposed to talk, but it was just surrounded by other people that have similar stories to me or can relate in one way or another. Because I used to go to those meetings, and I know I told you many times, I do not like going them. I feel like they just they just enjoy talking about their using too much, and it's at times it triggered me, or it's like, why are you so excited about what you did or who you robbed or whatever the case is. And I'm not putting anybody else's business out there, but I learned this time around is that when I go into a meeting, I always try and pick something from somebody's story that I can personally relate to, because like, fuck, they went through it too. Okay. There's a similarity.
So then how is that relapse not failure? Because that's really what you're weaving into there, right?
Right.
Is the relapse, it takes you a certain place, but what you're doing is pulling out the nuggets now, which makes it not a failure, it sounds like.
No.
So to someone else, and maybe even family members, because another part I'm thinking about here is there's probably a lot of people that have been in your position that don't have any family that support them.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And so if there's like family listening, or if there's someone going through the struggles themselves, what do you say about that? Relapse isn't failure.
I'm they I don't even, relapse isn't failure. It's don't quit on yourself. And anything's possible, absolutely anything. And if you don't have family or you don't have friends, walk into a room, or find some I mean, with me, I can talk to pretty much anybody. And but there's always that one person that, and there's so many people out there that are just like, oh, just living life but not living life. And then there's those that, yeah, we relapsed, but that's just a part of our story, and now we're going to succeed. That's our downfall is not going to be, my past doesn't define who I am today.
Amen.
It may have contributed to all the crap I have to go through and all the brokenness that I need to, heal, or but it's a repair. But my past is my past, and I was never a failure. I messed up more times than I can count, and I didn't like who I was. And but relapse is just a part of my story, and relapse has made me who I am today. And I would look at it as if I wasn't giving back and trying to help somebody else. Like I've said all my life, I always wanted to help a certain group of people, and if there isn't one person in this world that even a word or a sentence that I may say or you say doesn't reach out, then I feel like my entire using is a failure.
Oh, that's wow.
Like,
Wow.
if what I've been through or put myself through, what I've put others through, and me just completely exposing my entire life and letting the entire world be able to view it, if it can't reach out or try to help, or and it can't help somebody or give somebody the inspiration or the hope, me and my using day, it was an epic failure.
Yeah, I get that. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's leave it there for now,
Yeah.
shall we?
Till next time, guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming and joining us here.
And remember, the love that doesn't quit. Love never quits.
That's it. It doesn't. Love of the self, and then love of the people who love you. Sometimes that's a family that you find along the way.
Yep.
But remember that love is something that cares for you, that wants the better for you. And there's a lot of time on this girl's journey that she's thought love was something that it wasn't. That's for another day, but it looked like love, but it wasn't, because love has boundaries, and love has support and encouragement and
healthy boundaries.
That's right. So until next time.
Bye, guys.